Hey, welcome back. Today we are discussing the Vancouver real estate update for August of 2021, and this is part of a 5-part series. We're gonna hit 4 of the major markets across Canada, and then at the very end we're gonna discuss Halifax because everybody wants to know what the heck's going on in the Halifax real estate market. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers, where one lucky subscriber is going to win $5,000 to put towards their debt, to put towards their investments, to pay off their mortgage, to put for a down payment, or to do with simply whatever they want. But you have to be subscribed to win, so go ahead, click that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and it's definitely worth it. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit. Product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the Vancouver real estate market for August of 2021. Now, we have discussed previously the Toronto market. We've discussed the Calgary market. I've shown you how amazing the stats package is for the Calgary real estate market, for the Calgary Real Estate Board. Trebs isn't bad at all either, but the Calgary Real Estate Board one is amazing. Now I'm going to show you where maybe Vancouver lacks a little because their stats package is probably one of the least robust in the country. And it's so interesting because the amount of data that they put out and the amount of information they put out is directly correlated to what goes on in the media. If you take a look at the Vancouver July home sales were down 11.6% from June headline in BNN, you can see, pretty lackluster title, just home prices were down. But look at how short the article is. There's hardly any information here, and that's because the Greater Vancouver Real Estate Board, or the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, they just don't provide a lot of information. Steve Saretsky, if you haven't checked out his channel, go check out his channel for some Vancouver real estate information, but he actually provides more information commenting on what's going on in the Vancouver real estate market than the Vancouver Real Estate Board actually provides. So I want to jump in and I'm going to show you exactly what they provide, exactly what they show. We go in and, you take a look, and first of all, they break out detached, townhouse, and apartment. Now, what's interesting to note is that the Vancouver real estate prices are still quite high. If you look at detached houses, to get a house where you don't have to share a wall with a neighbor, it's going to cost you on average $1.8 million. That's crazy. And if you look at townhouses and you look at apartments, they're both priced very high. In fact, you can buy a pretty significant house in a place like Calgary or a place like Halifax for, the amount that you would have to pay to basically be attached to another person's property or to a series of other people's properties. So it's really interesting that the housing prices are that high in Vancouver. And it's also interesting that we've got the highest price market with the least amount of data available. And if you go and you take a look at the sales from July compared to last year, now last year was the first real sort of July of last year was the first sort of real month of data that we could collect because that was when the lockdown started to come off and activity started to pipe up. What you can see is that activity was still quite high in July of this year compared to July of last year. July of last year was an incredibly huge month. And if I remember correctly here, the average price in the Greater Vancouver market, and I'm just going to have to go through and find the data, is still pushing up. Well, let's go to BNN because it's going to be easier to find there. If you take a look at the average benchmark price in Vancouver, it is $1.175 million. And that represents fairly consistent price compared to last month, but it's an increase by 13.8% over last year. So housing prices year over year up quite substantially compared to last month because of the slowdown in sales. The housing prices are fairly similar to what they were last year. Isn't it funny though that when you look at their data, it's easier to find in a one-page article from BNN with no pictures, no images, than it is in the actual press release from the Vancouver Greater Real Estate Board or whatever we call them. They have They not only have more words in the name of the Greater Vancouver Real Estate Board or whatever it is called, the Vancouver, the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, their name has more complications to it than the amount of data that they put out. So, We scroll down here, take a little bit of a look. Sales to active listings, 25% of detached homes are being sold, 47% of townhomes are being sold, 37.3% of condominiums that come up on the market are being sold. Really just a slowdown in the market that you would expect in the summer. Nothing too much to report here. Now, if we go and we dig into their actual stats package, obviously they provide a little bit more information, a little bit more commentary there on their news release. And then it is just data, 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 no charts. You have to really want to dig through numbers if you're reading this. Then when we do get to the charts, we actually have to go ahead and we have to rotate this ourselves. I'm kind of beaten up on the Vancouver Real Estate Board here, but the reality of it is they could do better on this. So we take a look at the 5-year trend from a home price index. We see that this is how leveled off in each of the sectors of the market. Still higher than it's ever been, but leveling off. And I suspect that what we're going to see is that the housing prices in Vancouver stay pretty flat, as I suspect they will in Toronto, until something happens in the market that causes them to go up, or something happens in the market that causes them to go down substantially. And as of right now, there's nothing to support a big change in either direction. So until something changes, we're going to see housing prices remain fairly constant in where they are right now. Residential average sales price, January 1977 to July of 2021. You can see all-time highs here on detached homes. What's really interesting though, and what I always point out to people, is if you go back to the 1980s when interest rates went up to 10%, and you see this sort of bump here, when you see big spikes in the housing market in the 1990s, it didn't matter back then whether you bought at the top of the market or the bottom of the market, because 25 years later in 2015, whether you bought at the top or the bottom, that was just a blip on the radar. And this is a really great chart to show that if you're trying to time the market and wait until housing prices come down, they're probably going to come down a little bit, but it really doesn't make a big difference in the long term, as long as you're buying a house that's affordable to you. And that's the big thing that we're trying to get across to people nowadays, is we're trying to say, don't make buying decisions on houses, which is a long-term illiquid asset, with short-term buying mentality. In other words, don't think you have to get into bidding wars. Don't think that you have to go and pay the most amount to get it. Don't think that you have to buy the house that you don't want. Buy the house that will last you for the longest amount of time, as reasonably predictable at today's date, and make those decisions with a long-term mindset rather than a short-term mindset. Because here's what I can tell you unequivocally, is that short-term thinking in a market like this, either panicking and trying to get in, or panicking and waiting because you think the market's going to go down when it may very well just stay flat for the next little while, are the things that will cause you to make the mistakes that cost you the most money. If you're buying with the long-term in mind and you're thinking on a 10 to 25 year time horizon, it's going to be really hard to make a bad decision. But if you're thinking about what the next 3 to 6 months look like in your buying decision, it's going to be pretty easy to make a bad decision and make a big mistake. So think with the long term in mind. If you're looking to get into the real estate market, we have a homebuyers boot camp. I've said this on the other two videos. We are shutting down registration for that until the fall on August 16th. So you have a few more days to get into it at the price that it's at now. We are going to raise the price in the fall when we reopen that course. So this is your last opportunity to get into it this summer. And it is your last opportunity to get into it at the price, the very reasonable and very cheap price that it's at right now. So if you are interested in having us join you on that journey and educate you on everything from how to get a mortgage to how to select a realtor to how to write that offer and make sure that you get a good deal from start to finish and make you one of the most informed buyers in the real estate market, well, go ahead, click on that link in the description below. And I sincerely believe, and I guarantee you actually, that you'll get at least 10 times your money back, because I'm going to put a special offer in that course that will guarantee you 10 times your money back. And if you don't join us on that course, you can always apply at Mortgage 360 to get your mortgage. And if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and don't forget about that race to 25,000 subscribers. You don't have to buy the course to win, you don't have to apply for a mortgage to win, but you do have to be subscribed. So go ahead, click that subscribe button. It's free, easy, definitely worth it, and we'll see you on the very next video. Cheers.